They're maintaining fixed distances from one another, Commander Lee notes, tracking the alien vessels through the station's advanced telescopes. The Obsidian ships hover in Earth orbit like massive chess pieces, positioned with mathematical precision. Whatever propulsion system they're using, it requires incredible control. Dr. Rodriguez runs her fingers through her disheveled hair, staring at the gravitational data streaming across her screens at the Geneva Research Facility. Her colleagues had initially dismissed her theories about gravitational manipulation as fringe science. Now, those same colleagues watch in stunned silence as her models perfectly predict the aliens' orbital patterns. These ships aren't just compensating for our gravity, she explains to the Emergency Scientific Council. They're actively creating their own gravitational bubbles. She projects a three-dimensional model showing ripples in spacetime surrounding each vessel. See these fluctuations? They're maintaining internal gravitational conditions that differ significantly from Earth's. Across the globe, military forces mobilize, though everyone understands the futility of conventional weapons against visitors who can traverse interstellar space. Major Okonkwo coordinates African defense forces from a bunker beneath Nairobi, watching satellite feeds of the alien formations. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already, he tells his officers. They want something else. The Vorax transmission replays on screens worldwide. Your resources have been catalogued. Your species will be processed. Preparation time, 72 hours. No further communication follows despite humanity's countless attempts to establish dialogue. United Nations emergency sessions dissolve into chaos. Religious leaders proclaim the end times. Financial markets collapse entirely within hours. Dr. Rodriguez ignores the global panic, focusing instead on a curious anomaly in her data. These beings evolved somewhere with significantly lower gravity than Earth, she hypothesizes, comparing the internal gravitational readings from the alien ships with known exoplanets. Perhaps 0.3 G, similar to Mars but even less. Their physiology would be completely different from ours. She pulls up astronomical databases, searching for star systems with smaller rocky worlds or large moons that might support life. If they evolved in low gravity, Earth would feel crushing to them. They'd need those suits we glimpsed in the telescope imagery just to function here. Commander Lee confirms this observation from the space station. The external repair crew we observed never removed their protective gear, even for a moment. Their movements were cautious, deliberate, almost fearful. Major Okonkwo immediately grasps the tactical implications. So on their world, they're graceful and powerful. On ours, they might struggle to even stand. More than struggle, Dr. Rodriguez explains, her voice quickening with realization. Their bone density suggests catastrophic structural failure under sustained Earth gravity. Their own bodies would literally break under their weight. For the first time since the ships appeared, a flicker of hope emerges among the scientists and military planners. The Vorax might possess technology centuries beyond human development, but they evolved in an environment fundamentally different from Earth's. As the 72-hour deadline counts down, Dr. Rodriguez works feverishly to develop detection systems for the aliens' gravitational fields. If they need artificial gravity manipulation to function on Earth, disrupting that technology might give humanity its only chance for survival. Earth itself might be our greatest weapon, she whispers to herself as dawn breaks over Geneva, illuminating a world that has perhaps never seemed so precious or so endangered. Dr. Rodriguez's laboratory becomes the center of humanity's scientific resistance as governments worldwide route resources to her team. Intercepted Vorax communications flow through supercomputers, gradually revealing patterns that confirm her gravitational theory. "Look at these physiological specifications," she tells Major Okonkwo, pointing to biomechanical diagrams extracted from Vorax technical manuals. The alien anatomy displayed on screen shows a skeletal structure that resembles a stretched human form, elongated limbs with minimal muscle mass, connected by joints that would snap under Earth's pull. Their circulatory system would collapse under our gravity. Even their organs would fail. The Major studies the diagrams with a tactician's eye. So their technological advantage is also their greatest vulnerability. Their entire invasion depends on maintaining these artificial gravity fields. A junior physicist interrupts with new data from monitoring stations worldwide. The ships are deploying some kind of scanning technology. They're mapping gravity variations across Earth's surface. Dr. Rodriguez quickly interprets the data. They're identifying areas where our gravity is naturally weaker, like high elevations or regions with less dense crust. Those will be their primary landing zones. Within hours, her prediction proves accurate. The Vorax ships dispatch small probes to the Himalayas, the Ethiopian highlands, and other regions of slightly reduced gravitational pull. Each probe emits the same shimmering field observed around their ships. They're testing the effectiveness of their compensator technology against varying gravitational conditions, Dr. Rodriguez explains to the Emergency Defense Council. They won't risk their actual troops until they've confirmed their protection will function properly. Major Okonkwo orders special forces to observe the probes without engagement. "We need to understand everything about their gravity tech before we make our move." At the Himalayan observation post, Captain Sonam Sherpa reports back with crucial intelligence. The probes are deploying what looks like infrastructure components, machines that create larger gravity-neutral zones. They're preparing landing sites for their main forces. Dr. Rodriguez works with military engineers to develop countermeasures. If we can disrupt their gravity fields even temporarily, Earth itself becomes our weapon. She explains, sketching designs for devices that might generate electromagnetic pulses tuned to the specific frequencies used by Vorax technology. Meanwhile, Commander Lee makes another critical discovery from the space station. The Vorax are maintaining strict communication protocols with their ground probes. Each transmission contains gravitational calibration data. They're constantly fine-tuning their fields to maintain their preferred gravity. This revelation provides another potential vulnerability. If we could intercept and alter those calibration signals, Dr. Rodriguez begins, her mind racing with possibilities. We could trick their systems into creating fields too weak to protect them. Major Okonkwo finishes her thought. Or even reverse the field effect entirely. With less than 24 hours remaining before the Vorax deadline expires, humanity prepares for a battle unlike any in its history. Special Forces units deploy near the alien landing zones with prototype disruptor devices. Engineers work to crack the Vorax calibration signals. Hospitals prepare for casualties they can scarcely imagine. Dr. Rodriguez hasn't slept in days, but adrenaline keeps her focused. We evolved on this planet over millions of years, she tells her team as they finalize their plans. Every cell in our bodies knows how to function in this gravity. The Vorax are fighting against the fundamental nature of our world with every step they take here. That gives us an edge they never considered. As the deadline approaches, humanity holds its breath and prepares to weaponize the very planet beneath their feet. Lieutenant Anya Patel signals her squad to hold position as the Vorax patrol advances through the ruins of South Delhi. The aliens move with unsettling precision inside their shimmering gravity bubbles, each step carefully measured, as if walking on invisible pathways. Their elongated limbs flex unnaturally with each movement, reminding her of mantises rather than humanoids. They're following the exact routes their probes mapped earlier, she whispers into her comm unit, never deviating more than 2 meters from their designated paths. The tactical significance isn't lost on her commanders. The Vorax aren't just invading, they are colonizing with methodical precision, transforming Earth's environment to match their physiological requirements, step by step. In Johannesburg, Captain Ndlovu's team examines footage of their successful ambush. The moment when the electromagnetic pulse disrupted the aliens' gravity field replays in slow motion, showing the horrifying consequences for the Vorax soldier. Its limbs buckle instantly, bones visibly snapping through translucent skin as the creature collapses under Earth's pull. Their suffering was immediate, Ndlovu reports to command. Their bodies simply cannot withstand our gravity without technological assistance. This intelligence spreads quickly through resistance channels worldwide. Every Vorax casualty confirms Dr. Rodriguez's theory. The aliens' advanced weaponry means nothing if their gravity fields can be neutralized even briefly. Back in New Delhi, Lieutenant Patel receives new orders directly from Major Okonkwo. Test the limits of their safe zones. Force them to adapt to unfamiliar terrain. Her team deploys modified drones to drop rubble across the aliens' carefully mapped pathways. The Vorax response is telling. Rather than navigate the obstacles, they halt completely, waiting for specialized units to clear the debris and remap their routes. They can't improvise, Petal realizes. Every step on our world has to be calculated in advance. This discovery leads to a critical evolution in human tactics. Instead of direct confrontation with superior weaponry, resistance forces focus on disrupting the aliens' environmental preparations. Demolition teams collapse buildings near Vorax pathways. Engineering units flood areas designated for alien habitation. Anything to force the invaders to adjust their precisely calibrated plans. In Geneva, Dr. Rodriguez examines the captured Vorax gravity suit with growing excitement. The technology is extraordinarily advanced, but it has clear limitations, she explains to the Defense Council. Each suit generates a localized field that reduces effective gravity to approximately 0.25 g, what they're accustomed to on their homeworld. She points to the intricate network of circuits running throughout the suit. But the energy requirements are enormous. They can't simply crank up the field strength if challenged. There's a strict upper limit to how much gravitational difference they can compensate for. This revelation sparks a daring strategy. If the Vorax suits can only reduce gravity by a fixed amount, then increasing the local gravitational force beyond their compensatory capabilities would neutralize their advantage entirely. We don't need to knock out their fields completely, Dr. Rodriguez explains. We just need to overwhelm them with more gravity than their technology can handle. As the first day of invasion concludes, humanity faces devastating losses in conventional battles. But where resistance forces employ the new gravitational tactics, they achieve surprising victories against the seemingly invincible invaders. Major Okonkwo addresses the United Earth Defense Command with newfound confidence. We've identified their critical weakness. Now we need to exploit it systematically before they can adapt. The Vorax came prepared to conquer humans, not to fight Earth itself. Dr. Rodriguez hasn't left her laboratory in 3 days. The captured Vorax gravity suit components spread across her workstation tell a story of technological marvel and exploitable weakness. Her fingers trace the intricate circuitry of the central regulator, marveling at its elegant design while searching for vulnerabilities. They've mastered quantum-level manipulation of gravitational constants, She explains to her team as holographic models float above the dissected alien technology. But their entire approach is based on subtraction, reducing Earth's natural pull to match their homeworld. Her lead assistant points to anomalous energy readings from their tests. The field strength fluctuates when exposed to specific electromagnetic frequencies, almost like a resonance effect. Dr. Rodriguez's eyes widen as she processes the implications. "We don't need to disable their fields completely," she says slowly, the excitement in her voice building. "We can reverse the polarity, turn their own technology against them." Across the globe in Rio de Janeiro, Brazilian forces prepare for the first large-scale test of this theory. Colonel Martins surveys the trap they set in the narrow valley leading to the city's water treatment facility, a critical infrastructure target the Vorax have been methodically advancing toward for days. "Remember, timing is everything," he reminds his troops over secure channels. The pulse must hit their entire formation simultaneously before they can adapt their fields. When the Vorax patrol enters the valley precisely on schedule, following their predetermined path, Martins gives the signal. Dozens of modified EMP devices activate in perfect sequence, each calibrated to the resonance frequency Dr. Rodriguez identified. The effect exceeds all expectations. The aliens' protective fields don't simply collapse, they invert momentarily, creating microseconds of enhanced gravity. The Vorax soldiers crumple instantly, their bodies literally breaking under forces nearly twice Earth's natural pull before their emergency systems can compensate. "It worked better than predicted," Martins reports as his forces secure the area. "The field inversion created a gravity spike before failure." This discovery transforms the resistance strategy overnight. Military engineers worldwide begin modifying EMP devices to not just disrupt, but briefly reverse Vorax gravity fields. Each successful ambush provides more captured technology and data for Dr. Rodriguez's team to refine their approach. The Vorax respond with predictable efficiency, upgrading their troops' gravity suits with shielding against electromagnetic interference. But this adaptation comes with costs. The shielding adds weight and reduces mobility, forcing the aliens to move even more cautiously across Earth's already challenging terrain. In Tokyo, resistance fighters discover another vulnerability when they target a hidden Vorax command center. Rather than attack the heavily defended entrance, they focus on the central gravity generator, providing the entire facility with their homeworld's conditions. The generator's creating a stable low-gravity bubble for their operations, explains Captain Tanaka as his team analyzes the complex's energy emissions. But what happens if we don't destroy it, but overload it instead? The answer comes when they hack into the facility's control systems and reverse the generator's output. The bubble of alien comfortable gravity transforms into a crushing 2G zone that collapses the entire facility from within. Even Vorax command staff in their reinforced suits cannot withstand the doubled gravitational force. Dr. Rodriguez reviews the Tokyo operation data with mounting excitement. "They've given us everything we need to defeat them," she tells Major Okonkwo over a secure channel. Their gravity manipulation technology is enormously powerful, but fundamentally flawed in one crucial respect. "What's that?" the Major asks. "They designed it to protect against higher gravity, never imagining it could be turned into a gravity amplifier. We don't need to destroy their technology. We need to weaponize it." The prototype gravitational resonance device sits at the center of CERN's main testing chamber, an ungainly assembly of salvaged Vorax components integrated with human technology. Dr. Rodriguez circles it with cautious optimism, checking connections one final time before the first full power test. The principle is elegant in its simplicity. She explains to the observing military representatives behind the safety barrier. Rather than fighting against Earth's natural gravity, we're amplifying it by creating harmonic resonance with the planet's own gravitational field. Major Okonkwo studies the device skeptically. Will it actually reach 3G throughout the entire target zone? The simulations showed inconsistent coverage. That's why we're testing it, Dr. Rodriguez replies, making a final adjustment. In theory, we should be able to create a half-kilometer bubble where the effect of gravity triples. Nothing in the Vorax physiology can withstand those forces for more than seconds. The team retreats to the shielded observation room. On monitors, they watch remote operators in specialized compression suits position measuring equipment around the test area. When all personnel clear the zone, Dr. Rodriguez initiates the sequence with a single command. The resonance device hums to life, its components glowing with the same blue-green energy that characterizes Vorax technology. For several seconds, nothing visible happens. Then the monitoring equipment begins registering dramatic changes in local gravitational readings. "It's working," Dr. Rodriguez whispers, watching the numbers climb. 1.5 G, 2 G, 2.7 G. On the video feeds, the effects become apparent. Dust particles accelerate toward the ground at unnatural speeds. A chair left in the test area crumples, as if pressed by invisible hands. Water in a testing pool flattens completely, unable to form even the smallest ripples under the crushing force. 3.1 G, announces the monitoring technician. Field stability at 94%. The implications are immediately clear to everyone watching. This technology, deployed against the Vorax, would turn their greatest vulnerability into humanity's most powerful weapon. Training begins immediately for special gravity teams, comprised of individuals whose bodies can best tolerate increased gravitational stress, deep-sea divers, fighter pilots, mountaineers accustomed to extreme physical conditions. Each wears a modified compression suit based on high-altitude flight gear, designed to counteract the worst effects of enhanced gravity. Major Okonkwo personally leads the training program outside Nairobi, pushing his teams through progressively more difficult exercises under steadily increasing gravitational conditions. 2 minutes at 1.5 G. He orders as the soldiers struggle through basic movement drills. Then we rest, then again at 1.8 G. Your bodies need to adapt gradually. The first field deployment targets the Vorax forward base near Sydney. Intelligence indicates the facility processes captured humans for biological analysis, a grim reminder of what's at stake. The gravity team approaches under cover of night, each member carrying components of the resonance device distributed among them to reduce the load on any single person. Assembly complete, reports Lieutenant Chen, the team leader. Compression suits operating at maximum capacity. Timer set for 30 seconds after activation. That's our window to clear the enhanced gravity zone. From their observation post 2 kilometers away, Major Okonkwo and Dr. Rodriguez watch through night vision equipment as the team retreats to safe distance. When the resonance device activates, there's no dramatic light show or explosion, just a subtle distortion in the air above the Vorax base, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then the effects become catastrophically clear. The alien structures begin to collapse inward, their materials never designed to withstand such forces. Through monitoring equipment, they detect brief, high-frequency distress signals from within the base, quickly silenced as the Vorax communication systems fail under the crushing pressure. It worked perfectly, Dr. Rodriguez says quietly, the gravity of the moment not lost on her. We've turned their own science against them. Commander Lai watches the repositioning Vorax fleet through the enhanced telescopes of the space station, meticulously recording their movements. Despite suffering significant ground losses, the aliens maintain perfect formation discipline in orbit, their massive vessels adjusting positions with micro-thruster bursts that keep them exactly 50.27 kilometers apart at all times. The precision is remarkable. She notes in her transmission to Earth Command, even under attack, they never deviate from their minimum separation parameters. As the Vorax orbital weapons target Earth's infrastructure with increasing desperation, Commander Lee notices subtle patterns in their targeting protocols. The aliens systematically avoid striking any location where their own ship's shadows would overlap, as if the intersection of their gravity fields creates zones they consider dangerous or unpredictable. They're treating their gravity bubbles like incompatible magnetic fields. She explains during the emergency briefing. When two ships come too close, their gravitational systems must create interference patterns neither can fully compensate for. Dr. Rodriguez immediately grasps the implications. If we could force their fields to intersect, their entire navigational system would collapse, Commander Lee finishes. But getting close enough to plant devices on multiple ships simultaneously would be nearly impossible. General Hassan, coordinating global defense forces from the underground Cairo facility, studies the tactical displays. Perhaps not. We've captured enough of their technology to understand their stealth protocols. The plan takes shape with unprecedented cooperation between nations. 3 space shuttles, American, Chinese, and Indian, are retrofitted with Vorax cloaking technology. Each carries a team of astronauts trained to operate in zero gravity and multiple miniaturized resonance devices. The mission briefing is brutally honest about the chances of success. This is likely a one-way trip, General Hassan tells the volunteer crews. But if you succeed, you'll create a chain reaction that could cripple their entire orbital fleet. Commander Lai provides real-time guidance from the space station as the shuttles launch under cover of a coordinated ground attack that draws Vorax attention planetside. The cloaking technology proves effective. The alien vessels show no reaction as the human ships approach their precise formation. The teams work with methodical efficiency, attaching resonance devices to the hulls of 3 strategically selected Vorax ships. The alien vessels' own gravitational fields provide cover, as the devices appear to be part of their normal field-generating equipment when scanned. All devices placed, reports Carl Zhang from the Chinese shuttle. Synchronized detonators set for 15 minutes, returning to minimum safe distance. The shuttles retreat but remain close enough to observe the results. When the resonance devices activate simultaneously, they don't simply disrupt the individual ship's gravity systems. They create cascading interference patterns that spread across the entire carefully balanced Vorax formation. The effect exceeds all projections. 5 Vorax vessels are pulled into collision trajectories by suddenly unbalanced gravitational forces. Their internal compensators, designed to maintain steady artificial gravity for the crew, cannot adjust quickly enough to counteract the external forces now drawing them together. From her observation post, Commander Lai watches in awe as the massive alien ships crash into each other in silent, catastrophic collisions. Secondary explosions ripple across their hulls as internal systems fail. Debris spreads in expanding clouds, forming a temporary ring around Earth, a monument to humanity's desperate ingenuity. Confirmed hits on 5 primary vessels, she reports, her voice steady despite the enormity of what they've accomplished. The Vorax fleet has lost 45% of its orbital capacity. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth's military leaders allow themselves to contemplate not just survival, but victory. Yet, in the midst of celebration, Dr. Rodriguez's team detects troubling new data from deep space monitoring stations. There's something much larger approaching from the direction of Alpha Centauri. She informs the Defense Council. The reinforcement fleet we feared, and it's bigger than we imagined. Lieutenant Anya Patel leads her gravity-specialized team through the labyrinthine corridors of the captured Vorax cruiser. Each member wears the latest generation of compression suits, allowing them to function in the shifting gravitational conditions aboard the alien vessel. The humans move with practiced precision, portable resonance devices creating safe zones of Earth normal gravity in a ship designed for beings who would shatter under such force. Junction ahead, Patel warns as they approach a critical intersection. Sensors show fluctuating gravity fields. They are trying to trap us with localized high-G pockets. Her team deploys countermeasures developed from weeks of encounters with similar Vorax tactics. The aliens have grown more desperate as humans master their technology, using gravity itself as both weapon and shield. But with each engagement, humanity's understanding deepens. The navigation center should be 2 levels up, Patel notes, consulting the schematics developed from previously captured vessels. That's where we'll find their star charts and fleet coordination data. The team encounters sporadic resistance, Vorax soldiers moving with uncanny speed in their low-gravity zones, but collapsing instantly when caught in the humans' resonance fields. The aliens fight with increasing desperation, aware that their technological advantage erodes with each encounter. They're adapting, observes Sergeant Kumar as they secure another junction. Using portable field generators to create safe pathways through our gravity traps. But the power requirements are enormous. They can't maintain them for long. When they finally breach the navigation center, they find it partially abandoned, with only a skeleton crew remaining. Most of the Vorax have retreated to more defensible sections of the ship. The aliens left behind appear physically different from those encountered previously, smaller, with denser body structures. Different Caste explains their xenobiologist, scanning the remains of a Vorax navigator who failed to escape. These ones evolved for specialized technical roles, with physiological adaptations that make them slightly more resistant to gravitational stress. The team secures the navigation systems and begins extracting data. Maps of Vorax-controlled space unfold on their displays, dozens of star systems marked with their distinct symbology. Most crucial are the coordinates of their homeworld and the details of the approaching reinforcement fleet. Lieutenant Patel transmits the findings to Earth Command. We've confirmed what we suspected. The Vorax aren't conquering us for typical resources. Their original moon became uninhabitable centuries ago due to some kind of catastrophic environmental collapse. The data reveals a nomadic civilization living entirely in artificial habitats with precisely controlled environmental conditions. Their entire society depends on the gravity manipulation technology that allows them to maintain their preferred physiological conditions wherever they travel. They've done this before, Patel continues, scrolling through historical records extracted from the Vorax database. At least 7 other worlds conquered, stripped of resources, and transformed to create new habitats for their expanding population. Most alarming is the information about the approaching fleet. It carries millions of Vorax colonists in suspended animation, ready to occupy a conquered Earth after humans have been processed, a clinical euphemism for extermination. Back at Earth Command, Major Okonkwo studies the transmitted data with grim determination. They've never encountered a species that could turn their gravitational dependency against them, he observes. Their historical records show no instances of significant resistance once their initial invasion force establishes orbital superiority. Dr. Rodriguez analyzes the technical specifications of the approaching fleet. Their ships are larger but use the same fundamental gravity technology. The principles we've exploited should still apply, just on a much greater scale. The Major makes his decision. We can't wait for them to arrive. We need to take the fight beyond Earth orbit, using their own captured ships. A preemptive strike? Asks General Hassan. Not just a strike, Major Okonkwo replies. A gravitational trap on a scale they've never encountered. The reproposed Vorax vessels accelerate toward the incoming armada, their hulls now bearing the unified emblem of Earth alongside the alien markings. Inside the lead ship, Commander Lai Zhao monitors the propulsion systems with a mixture of awe and concern. The gravity drive technology allows for speeds human spacecraft could never achieve, but the systems remain partially alien despite weeks of intense study. Approaching Mars orbit, she announces to the multinational crew, gravitational signature of the Vorax reinforcement fleet growing stronger. Their advanced scouts will detect us within the hour. In the ship's modified command center, Dr. Rodriguez finalizes calculations for what they've codenamed Operation Singularity. The plan depends on precisely calibrated gravitational pulses from their small fleet of captured vessels, creating interference patterns that will cascade through the tightly packed Vorax armada. The principle is sound, she explains to the assembled officers, but the scale is beyond anything we've attempted. We're essentially creating a temporary gravitational anomaly, similar to what occurs near a neutron star, but focused and directed. Several Vorax prisoners who chose cooperation over loyalty work alongside the human scientists, providing crucial insights into their own technology. One such collaborator, a navigational specialist called Seleth, explains the fundamental flaw in their species' approach to interstellar colonization. Our leaders knew Earth's gravity would confine our troops to ships and environmental bubbles, Seleth admits. But they considered it an acceptable limitation for a short campaign. Your planet's resources and position made it too valuable to bypass. Your leaders miscalculated, Commander Lai replies without malice. They never considered we might turn their own gravitational technology against them. As the confrontation point approaches, Major Okonkwo addresses the crews of all 5 modified vessels. His face appears on communication screens throughout the small human fleet, his expression resolute. We face overwhelming numbers, he acknowledges, but we hold 2 critical advantages. First, we understand their weakness better than they do. Second, they have no experience facing a species that has mastered their own technology. The massive Vorax reinforcement fleet emerges from deeper space, decelerating as it approaches Mars orbit. The formation is breathtaking in its precision. Hundreds of vessels, maintaining exact distances from one another, creating a 3-dimensional lattice of gravitational fields. They've detected us, reports the sensor officer. No signs of alarm yet. They appear to be identifying us as damaged advance ships. This momentary confusion gives the Earth fleet its opening. The 5 vessels take up strategic positions at the periphery of the Vorax formation, each preparing to generate the precisely calibrated gravitational pulse Dr. Rodriguez designed. All ships confirm ready status, Commander Lai announces. Gravitational resonators at full capacity. Major Okonkwo gives the final command, execute Operation Singularity. The human vessels simultaneously generate synchronized gravitational pulses. Individually, Each pulse would merely disrupt a single Vorax ship. Combined, they create a cascading wave that propagates through the carefully balanced alien formation. The effect begins at the edges and moves inward with devastating speed. Ship after ship loses gravitational control as the pulse passes through them. Without their carefully calibrated fields, the Vorax experience catastrophic systems failures. Their precisely maintained formation collapses into chaos. But the most devastating effect comes from an unexpected source. The gravitational distortion pulls dozens of asteroids from the nearby belt, accelerating them toward the disoriented Vorax fleet. The aliens, struggling to restore their gravity systems, cannot evade these natural projectiles. From the bridge of her vessel, Commander Lai watches as the first impacts trigger chain reactions throughout the Vorax armada. "It's working beyond all projections," she reports, her voice steady despite the unprecedented destruction unfolding before them. Dr. Rodriguez stares at the sensor readings in amazement. "We didn't just disrupt their gravity fields," she realizes. "We've created a localized gravity that's pulling in everything nearby. The entire asteroid belt is destabilizing."